Welcome back to Daytime. It's that time of year when we start planning trips and vacations and what should we do and where should we go. Well, we have someone here with us today that's going to tell us just what we should consider doing this summer. Kylie is here with us. He is Editor-in-chief, Canadian Geographic. Welcome to Daytime.
Hi.
I have to tell you, I had a chance to look at this very carefully last night, and what beautiful images we can find in this particular issue.
For sure, it's one of the cornerstones of our magazine, great photography.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yep.
So let's talk about that. Traveling Canada, I think we forget sometimes the beautiful things that are in our own country.
Oh, for sure, and I think the summertime lends itself really well for Canadians to travel. I think in the winter we kind of we're homebodied. Yeah, we hunker down and we survive. But certainly, and then this summer of all summers, being that it's Canada's 150th anniversary, I think a lot of Canadians are reconnecting, celebrating. There's lots of opportunities, and lots of, I think, provincial travel agencies are trying to promote special deals and special initiatives for people. So it's a good chance to get out and reconnect with Canada and reconnect with our own country.
Beautiful. In here we have some of the best island getaway. Shall we mention a few?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things, I mean, we tried to go to sort of the smaller sort of islands, maybe things that people won't think of as much. So we skipped the big things like Prince Edward Island and Vancouver Island, things that we think are probably pretty obvious. And we went with some of the sort of smaller, I mean, maybe some of them are well known, but things like Malcolm Island in British Columbia. So it's a small island that's off the northeast coast of Vancouver Island.
Okay.
But many of the same kinds of things you would come to think or expect from getting in Vancouver Island, but in a smaller sort of, you could explore it by bike in a day kind of experience. So, all the wildlife, the orcas, the seals, that kind of thing.
Beautiful.
Then Manitoba, Hecla Island, which is at the south end of Lake Winnipeg. Similar kinds of things, lots of nature, as you might expect with islands like
Canada. I mean, there's so much nature from east to west. I mean, we're so vast. There's so much beautiful nature, so many beautiful parks.
Yep, and Manitoulin Island in Ontario. I think that's probably a fairly well-known one in Georgian Bay, sort of that spit of land that splits Georgian Bay from Hudson Lake.
Yeah.
And lots of little small towns. Lots of things to connect with, explore. We have the Ile de Madeleine in Quebec, which is just fantastic. Beautiful. The beaches. I know the writer who we worked with just talked about being able to walk. I think he said he walked for 3 hours straight along stretches of beaches. And I think, again, we probably don't think of Canada as being having great beaches, but we do.
No, and the ones that we know about are we think of Cavendish, right? We think of PI, so we don't often think of those smaller those smaller areas that are just as visually beautiful, but perhaps a little bit less well known.
And then there's places like Fogo Island off the coast of Newfoundland, which has become famous in its own right. I think, again, it's probably one of the more famous ones. The Fogo Island Inn.
Yeah, we were seeing that on the screen. People at home can see that's
and
glorious.
a Fogo Island native who sort of made her fame in the business world, Zita Cobb, and she went back home and she started this inn. It's very genuine. Lots of people, the local people help, so it's a real genuine Newfoundland experience, but in a very luxurious setting.
Wow, that's really incredible. Now, there's also this, I mean, we have to talk about parks. This year, for one, all of the parks, the national parks are free for entry this year.
Yep.
You can still get to your pass for that, or you can get them at the entry. That we've been talking about it. We love that. But there's this heritage park in Saskatoon that I don't even know that I can pronounce that you were going to talk about. What's that about? So
I had the great opportunity last summer to visit Saskatoon, and there's a place there called Waniskewin Heritage Park. It's a First Nations archaeological site. There's 19 pre-European contact archaeological sites in this park, and they're excavating them. And I think they're excavating the 8th or 9th one, and it's just beautiful. And then I know one of the things I had the great fortune of being able to tour the area with an archaeologist, Dr. Ernie Walker, and he works at the University of Saskatchewan, been the lead archaeologist in revealing many of the treasures that are buried here. Wow. 6,000 years of history. So we're talking, even like when we're talking about Canada and we think we're celebrating 150th anniversary this year, but when it comes to Indigenous people, they've been here for, 15,000 years.
Yeah.
And certainly the opportunity this year to explore that Indigenous history and culture that exists in Canada, I think is a really great one for Canadians to take advantage of. And certainly with Truth and Reconciliation and all the kinds of things that are going on in that realm, I think most Canadians are getting a lot more connected to it. So, and I was able to actually dig in some of the archaeological sites, and I think, not everybody can do it, but I think if there's archaeological digs going on, some visitors do get an opportunity.
You can actually probably see, or at the very least see it up close.
Yeah,
right?
for sure, yeah. See the
close.
action, and I know, like, I mean, when I was a kid, I was totally into that kind of stuff. But even as an adult, to get to help, and I found a bison toe. So I was probably.
How would you know it was a bison toe?
Well, fortunately, I had an archaeologist with me who could tell me.
Chunk of mud next.
Exactly, and there's lots of stuff you dig through. Stone, is this something or is it not something? But I was told I might have been the first person ever to hold that bison toe. Because it was a bison that may have been harvested or may have just died naturally at that place. So, something that's, thousands of years old and that you can connect with it. So
there's
certainly
also
a very interesting place.
There's also a spot in the magazine where we talk about, visiting the Arctic with Chris Hadfield.
Yes, I mean, so certainly something that not everyone can do is visit the Arctic with Chris Hadfield, but I know for readers of our magazine, the North and the Arctic is one of the most fascinating areas, one of the areas of most interest to our readers. And Chris Hadfield, I mean, we all know him, and one of the things that he has done since he come back from space is he created a concept called Generator, and it basically sort of riffing off the stuff he was doing in space, trying to get collaborators, musicians, creative people get together and just come up with new ideas and new ways of seeing the world. So he hosted one of his Generator events on a cruise ship in the Arctic last year.
Incredible.
And a photographer whom we work with, Paul Colangelo, was there to document it and as part of the program. So certainly lots of inspiring images, and certainly if Canadians can get there and afford to get there, and I understand that there's no better way to see the Arctic than on a cruise.
Well, I'm going to tell everybody to pick up this copy. It's the Canadian Geographic Travel, the latest edition. Be sure to pick it up this summer and check out what you can visit in our very own country. We're going to take a quick break. Lots more to come. Stay tuned. We'll be right back on Daytime Ottawa.